Hi guys, welcome to Cryptids Canada. Hope everybody's having a great day, living, loving, and laughing. That's going to be my new thing. I like that saying, I always have. Okay, guys, I'm not going to dilly dally because I've got an amazing story to read. Oh, but before I start, I just wanted to remind you, if you like this video, please like and share. Or if you really like this video, then subscribe, because you know you're going to be welcome here. Okay, on with the story. Just calls it The Encounter with a Tall Nightcrawler. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in that title, but I think that just sums it up really well. Okay, back in 2010, in Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley, British Columbia, Canada, approximately in early October or mid-October, when I was 16. In brackets, he says he's 26 years old now. My friend lived in a northwest rural part of my city. His backyard has 5 acres of forest, with a few houses surrounded in the distance around the outskirts of the forest. Me and him would go and explore the forest all the time because it was quite mystical and just a cool place to wander. This one time, me and my friend went outside to his forest with his black Labrador retriever. Normally we would go during the day, but this time it was about 1 a.m. at night. We wanted to go explore and to smoke a joint. In brackets, he says, which we were sober at the time and didn't even get to smoking until after the encounter. They ended up waiting until they were back at the basement room. There is a steep cliff that is about 20 to 25 feet into the forest. We were standing at the top of this cliff ravine, and I could see a 7 to 8 foot tall, pure white, soft-looking figure, and it was in between the trees, moving around softly, swaying left to right and back and forth slowly, standing in the same exact place the whole time we saw it, making absolutely no sound, and there was absolutely no wind. I wasn't even going to say anything about the figure to my friend at first, because I was waiting for my friend to say something. We observed it for a couple of seconds in complete silence, and we were mesmerized by its movements. Then I asked my friend if he saw it, and he said yeah, he could as well. We stood silent in fear as we were watching it do the strange, unsettling, soft swaying movements. We were trying to adjust our eyes to the being and see what it was doing. As we continued watching it for a couple of minutes, I felt I was in a slight daze watching it sway, and I started to feel impending doom set in. The sinking feeling in my chest area, like when you're going to die or you're in a life-threatening situation. And I had shivers going throughout my body. That's when I told my friend specifically, I don't like this. He agreed, and we left immediately. I wasn't so much scared of the sight of the being. I was more curious about the strange movements it was making and what it really looked like. I was scared of the feeling of death it made me feel. I was frozen with fear, and I literally felt like I was going to die or something bad was going to happen. We left very quick because we didn't know what it was. It scared us, and our intuition told us it was dangerous. We didn't want to go check out what it was, and I knew it was time to leave. I remember my friend yelling something at it because he could tell his dog was scared. I'm positive the dog was whimpering, and the being was just swaying back and forth, left to right, between the trees in the same exact spot. Almost immediately after we got out of the forest, at the entrance of the forest, which we were not far from, it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off our shoulders, and the feeling of dread pretty much was gone. The supernatural being was just white, with long limbs about 7 to 8 feet tall from where we were standing, which was about 30 to 40 feet away. It was not a trick of the mind or light. There was no light or moonlight shining in the forest because it was filled with tall Douglas fir trees, cedar trees, and other vegetation. The creature was downwards from us, deeper into the thick black forest. It was not a spider web, fog, or any sort of garbage. We'd gone back in the morning in the daylight and saw nothing out of the ordinary. The forest was in pristine condition because nobody ever went in there. There were no houses close enough to give off any light or give off a shine through the trees. The being was not see-through. It looked like it was almost solid, but it was very ghostly, spirit-looking as well. It was an upside-down V or U shape. It had no facial features or head at all from what we could see in the dark. It was so white it looked like it was almost shining, but it wasn't because it wasn't giving off any light or any sort of illuminating from the ground or the trees around it. You could see that it casted a shadow like a real animal would. It looked solid enough to the point where you couldn't see through it at all. It was solid white. It appeared to be three-dimensional. It looked soft and kind of shiny. It was swaying left to right, right to left with its two really long arms. It looked bulky, strong at the top and the shoulder areas where its head would be, but there was no head that I could see. The best way I can describe it is 7 to 8 foot, thin, separated curtains in the shape of an upside-down V or U touching the forest floor, swaying left to right and back and forth in specific motions with no sound at all. Absolutely no wind, dead silent. Its movements were psychedelic and sort of hypnotizing. It was soft like Charlie's white spirit entering Peter's body after the attic scene from Hereditary. Probably the most solid description I can give of what it looked like. It was making no sound at all while it was swaying. It was beautiful to look at, but terrifying and unsettling at the same time. That's why it's so astonishing to look at. It was almost angelic. There were absolutely no sounds in the forest. It was dead silent while it was moving back and forth. Its movements could have been a lure of some sort, but it didn't move towards us or anywhere. Or it was just letting us know to stay away because it was scared to death as well, or just didn't want us to disturb it. It was literally something you would see in a science fiction horror movie. There's absolutely no animals in northern British Columbia, Canada, or the rest of Canada and the U.S. that look close to what we saw. There is absolutely no animals that are 7 to 8 foot tall, stand on 2 legs. It did not have a body. Its 2 legs and limbs were its body. It was not an animal. There is no possible way to debunk this. I have explored all the options of what it could have been. This was the first time we ever went out to his forest at night, and it was the last time we went to the forest at night. The 5 acres of forest is the biggest area of woods in that area. Around that area of town is mostly just a couple $1 million houses and farm forest area. It is pretty much the green belt of my city. He has no neighbors that are close to the location because, as I said, the forest is 5 acres, with the closest neighbors being at least 3 blocks down the street on the right-hand side of the forest. To this day, the feeling that I had when I saw that being move still gives me the shivers. The fact that we went out to the forest at that time really late at night and happened to see that freaks me out as well. It was clearly meant to be seen by us. If we went out any later or sooner, we might not have seen it in his forest at that moment of time. Like I said, I didn't have to point out to my friend where the being was. He automatically saw it at the same time I saw it. I think the feeling of dread could have possibly been a warning to keep away from it, and that's why me and my friend left right away without hesitation. This was my only paranormal experience I have ever had. There was no paranormal activity that I experienced. I understand a lot of people are scared of these types of things, and they don't want to believe they exist. Seeing one of these things up close is a spiritual experience that you need to experience and see for yourself to really understand what it's like. We have scaled my friend's forest, including the area where we saw the supernatural being, at least 20 different times. We went back to that spot the next day and we saw nothing out of the ordinary. We both knew that this was some kind of a being and that it was something we shouldn't have been seeing or attempting to go up to. Wow. Can you imagine just being, young guys kicking it in the middle of the woods just for something to do and then coming across something like that? I can't even imagine how terrifying that must have been. Anyways, he has sent me some links that I'm going to put in the description box below. You guys can go check it out. There's a video that I've actually seen before and I had no clue what it was, but it makes sense that it gives them some idea of what they may have seen. So I think that's going to be it for tonight, guys. You guys have a great day, and I hope to see you back here in a couple of days. Bye for now.